All right, tell me you're joking. Mondays suck. So do Tuesdays. Recorded on a Wednesday. Hopefully released by end of day Thursday. We're right on top of this, man. Got another news roundtable for you today. Today, I would say we have a... Peter, would you consider yourself on the left-right spectrum? Left, far left, or see on the other side of the sunset?
Oh, come on, man.
No,
look, are we talking about globally or historically or in the current definitions? Because by current standards, we've moved that over to window so far to the right that, like, Reagan's far left.
Okay.
Nixon's far left.
Is it safe to say further left than the other two of us at the table?
Probably. I mean, I never know with you.
True that. See, I'm cagey like
Yeah, it depends on the issue, probably.
Peter Merideth, sitting in the middle on the video. And on your left, if you're watching us over on YouTube, coming back again, answer the bat call, Mr. Will Eskay. How's it going, Will?
Good. I'm consistently confused why you pick a young guy living under a rock to come on these, but we'll see if I can chop it up.
Well, I just feel like you probably represent a lot of America in a good way.
In a good way. I think that's probably right.
Because you scan the news, you scroll. Do you death scroll, or do you just kind of, are you focused scrolling? Doom scroll.
I get roped in around 8 p.m. if I'm burnt out that day.
Yeah.
I got about an hour of doom scrolling. And
Does that burn you out more?
I don't know. I wake up.
All right, fair.
I just fall asleep.
Well, we're gonna get this thing going. I rolled us in here with a little Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young in honor of the current chaos across the country. Ohio, right? Remember this? You know this song, right? 4 Dead in Ohio. Look it up, people.
I told you, man. You
Pop
talk music with me. It's
pop
gonna be a
culture
problem.
classic. Today, based upon the provided notes from my friends here, we're gonna be covering some interesting topics across the board. We're going to be talking about the young GOP leaders, the shutdown. We're going to be talking AI. We're going to be going. We're going to be talking about Qatar. How do you pronounce it?
You know, I say Qatar, but I used to say Qatar. I really don't know.
Qatar, and then some more of our making it weird Portland stuff this time. I think last week we covered a little bit of Chicago, and Chicago's really kind of spiraled even more. I have a lot of friends that live up there that are very close to those neighborhoods on the near west side, and have insights that maybe another show will talk about that.
I kind of want to talk about that instead now.
I mean, we can bring it up here in a little bit. Why don't we can frame it through the lens of Portland as well.
Yeah,
but you know what? I'm going to go first here because recently there's been this whole conversation following the Charlie Kirk assassination, call it what it is, about political rhetoric and how rhetoric needs to be toned down, and it's all that's our problem, and look at all this hate from the left, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, yesterday news broke. Came from Politico first, but every other outlet picked it up because it was verified across the board. And nationally, there was a Telegram group chat. One of those things that our Secretary of Defense uses to share bombing plans on. And it was quite telling. And some of the individuals that were on this group chat were leaders of the Young Republican Party across the country. There was the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans. There was a Young Republican National Federation chairman. There was another one that was general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans. I mean, all over the board. Big group. I'm going to read a segment of one of the text strings that was screenshotted. And this was coming from the New York chair leader, and he starts off with, everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber, and everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. And then there were replies, replies. And then somebody says, when do we start bullying? Another person says, we have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. If they vote for us, why would they get gassed? On and on and on. And there was another string of the chat in which it was calling African Americans watermelon lovers, quote, watermelon lovers. Boom, they're dead. Great, I love Hitler. And now I'm just kind of randomly. Yeah. It was unhinged.
And none of those were followed by, others in the group checking them either and being like, yo, man, that's not cool. Like, none of that.
More
like added fire or hearts and things like that as responses.
All emoji support.
This is a Telegram group chat of Republican
young Republicans, national leaders of local
young Republican
regional
organizations
and other organizations.
Are they do they work in government, or this is
some of them?
Some do, yes.
Some of them have been staffers to various office holders. I think the Attorney General of Kansas, one of them was a staffer there.
Yeah.
But they are college young Republicans and other young Republican organizations. Like we've got Young Democrats in St. Louis that has a monthly meeting and they make endorsements. It's the same kind of thing for the Republicans.
Given your experience in politics, the level of the staffers, how big's the filter there? You get some knuckleheads that are on board in some of these, or it's like, who are these guys? How important are they?
I mean, to be honest, they're the future of the Republican Party.
They are the ones that do the work. They are the ones that do a lot of the street organizing.
And they're the ones that'll be the candidates in 5 and 10 years.
Are these jobs you can get, you coming out of college, first job, or you got to work to?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't.
And some aren't jobs; they're volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah, but the ones that were highlighted, these are not individuals that are just like, oh, I want to donate my time.
Right.
Can I get a title? They had to go through networks. They were vouched for. They had spent time. They had probably
and they get elected to those positions. Usually, they're not just appointed to them.
Yeah. So
and then what organization are they Are they these guys associated with, or what?
The Republican Party.
Just generally speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, my understanding, and again, I went through a couple different articles just to try and piece together. Okay, let's create this Venn diagram and what is in the middle circle. A number of publications basically verified that the names are the names. They are trackable through multiple sources. And they generically were titling them all in this group chat as leaders of young Republican groups. And each of these individual groups were slightly different regions, titles, and motives, from a local level all the way up to federal level support for candidates. And I think what it was is, if you look at, I'm going to go here. J.D. Vance's reply to it. This is where I really okay, we are not in Realville anymore. Following the Kirk assassination, the right's take was it was all of this fascist language and hate from the left, and so much violence that triggered this individual to doing this. Well, here's a group chat. Verifiable of inside leaders, next gen leaders of the party, and the vice president's response was a tweet alluding to the individual in Virginia that's running for the Attorney General's office, and they said some inappropriate stuff in a singular text, basically, you were talking, insinuating that the opponent, if something happened to them, oh well, if they were to die or if they were to be killed, oh well. And the vice president's response was using that text string of the AG candidate. This is far worse than anything said in a college group chat. And the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. So, I just want to throw.
By the way, most of the leading Democrats have also denounced that candidate for the comments that he made.
Yeah, it's the Al Franken syndrome. Right.
Because Democrats do actually hold them accountable.
They kick them out.
Yes.
Within the party.
Yeah.
So toss it over to you, Will, because this is first you've heard of it. I can, I'm guessing. Going back to Charlie and the narrative following that, and then fast forwarding to this, discovery of, important individuals within the Republican Party coming up through the ranks, to have a group chat that is loaded. And it was tip of the iceberg, because I went through all of it. It's awful what they were saying. What's your thoughts on political violence via words, kind of framing it through the lens of this news story?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the careers of those guys in the Republican Party is probably done for. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's telling how that ultimately plays out. I got some group chats with my friends in college that I hope don't get shared, but I imagine they're not to this extreme. Yeah, I don't know. It always seems like amazingly hypocritical. If some people on your side are doing it, you're like, oh, really? A couple of kids making mistakes, you're going to hold them to that? What your guy did's 1,000 times worse. I don't know. It never really made sense to me. And then in the view of like, which side is worse doing this? If the Republicans right now are like, I can't believe the Democrats are pushing this violent hate speech online, whatever. Like, we know that Trump broke the glass on like what's allowed to be said publicly in the political.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because there's a section of this group chat that alludes to that. One individual says something. Well, the text is, if we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked for real, FR, right? And there's heart emojis all over it. But the follow up is also ... We are officially under consideration for a Trump endorsement. Ha ha ha.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. This is all modeled behavior, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of these things are things that have become accepted in mainstream among Republicans. Look, you mentioned Vance, and it made me think of, did you see his tweet response to Senator Warren this week? So Elizabeth Warren posts this really nice and frankly professional post about the hostages being released, that today's a good day. Surviving hostages are finally home and reuniting with loved ones. Today must also be an important step toward lasting peace. Nothing really in any way controversial in this. No, like, downplaying Republicans or anything. Like, and his response to her was, the president told me he did this on Indigenous Peoples Day in honor of you.
Yeah, it's
like nasty, offensive stuff. Or Trump's AI videos last week of Democratic leaders with like super racist stuff like that, the sombrero and the music playing and stuff like this.
Or Russ Vaught as the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, I mean, and it's constant. I mean, we can give you examples every day of every week. Coming from the very top.
I think in terms of it, this
or the Nazis protesting. Well, there are good people on both sides.
All three of us are parents. All three of us are parents. We're all around kids a lot, especially you, Will. Obviously, with the club and all that. And I think in terms of like, if my child,
right,
did. Created an AI video like that, or that was kind of on par.
They get disciplined at school. I mean,
I would whip his ass. I would go old school.
They might get suspended.
And even as an adult, like this is what I often think about. Having grown up in a blue collar town and have seen so many of my peers convert over far right, and I know how they are. I know kind of the quote grit that's in them. If a motherfucker like a J.D. Vance ever walked into our local pub in town, like there would be a fight. It would be a fight, right? They would be like, "You're not one of us," like to a man.
Or Trump. I mean,
the guy lives on
penthouses covered in fake
this
gold.
Infatuation. It's almost as if it's the elevated hatred for the other side is the only thing fueling
the trolling is the unity.
Yeah. So anyway, that whole group chat.
I mean, it's even again back to Vance though. Like, remember when the Doge guy was caught with all these racist messages that he'd put on Twitter, like public comments, not things like joking in a college.
He got promoted,
right? And they defended, and they were like, "How dare people go after this guy for free speech?" It's like, no, they are lifting up speech like this. They are actively promoting it and welcoming it under their tent.
It's the whole do unto others, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to dumb it down. If your child were to do or text or say any of these things, ask yourself, how would you reply? And if it is in the aggressive disciplinary model, well, then you might not want to support what's going on, or at least ask your guy, hey, tone it down.
And I also want to just address kind of the both sides concept of this. Like, yeah, people are like, oh, well, Democrats will say far left stuff. I want you to go find some group chats of young Democrat organizations. And I'll tell you what people might get upset about is when somebody corrects somebody for saying something they found offensive, or when they're fighting over whether something was
wrong
offensive.
pronoun, or
right.
right.
And in all seriousness, but the point is they're motivated in this by trying to be respectful of people. And yeah, sometimes they go too far in policing each other on that.
100%.
But compare that to the opposite end of the extreme, which is this stuff's just filled with hate.
Yeah, it's bad. Let's move on. Enough of the young leaders. Peter, you came in with a couple of topics. Where you want to go first? You want to go?
I want to start with Qatar. You
Qatar.
Whatever. Qatar.
Qatar. I think
Qatari is. I don't know. That
just
sounded like I was talking about a video game.
Right. Pong. Let's talk about Pong. Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know. Well,
okay,
it
let's
doesn't
go.
matter. The
Airbase.
point being here, last week, I think we alluded to the fact that I was concerned because we had seen news of them signing. Trump announced that he had signed a pledge to
Pledge
protect.
of perfection.
So
protection.
the kind of like NATO pledge that they've actually rejected at this point and said, we're not going to defend NATO countries necessarily if they're attacked. He signed that kind of pledge for Qatar, saying that we will protect you in the event you are attacked. Now, notably, this fits in the context of the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, war, genocide, whatever thing you want to call it, because Hamas has officials that were staying in Qatar, and Israeli had attacked there, and it was only after that it
3
seemed
weeks
like,
ago.
Yeah, that it seemed like suddenly Trump took a new interest in addressing the war. And at the same time, Qatar is also the entity that gave him a plane, a private jet.
Well, let's say it's not hidden knowledge. I mean, there is a deal that has been made between the Trump organization, quote, led by his sons and son-in-law,
multiple deals
for a $5.5 billion golf resort and development in Qatar.
Yeah, but that's not even the only deal. You've also got investments in their cryptos. You've got in their financial organizations, like massive amounts of money coming to the Trump family from Qatar.
Right.
And they're giving them a pledge of support. And now this week, we learn he's going to give them a base.
It's not a full base. Like, in fairness to what is going on, it is the U.S. Air Force Base in Idaho. I don't know the name of it, but basically the Qatari government is...
It's actually where my brother was stationed for a while.
Has pledged to build a, quote, facility there, and it's supposed to be where Qatari pilots and staff are going to be brought, and they're going to be trained and everything else.
Now, we don't have this for any other country in the world right now. And you say, it's not technically a base. Imagine if Obama had said, we are announcing that we're going to have an air base for training a foreign military, and specifically from the Middle East, in America. Now, it's not for a NATO ally that we've got coming over here to do this. It is Qatar. And let's be clear, they're not a democracy. It's an authoritarian regime. Yep. Women don't have rights. Gay people don't have rights. And it is literally a Sharia state.
Workers do not either. They rotate in foreign workers.
Oh, yeah. And it is literally a Sharia state. And we've had all of these years of Republicans screaming about Democrats are putting in Sharia law, right? They're literally giving an air base, the first ever, essentially, to a foreign nation that is a Sharia law country.
Yeah, because
without rights.
There's historic examples of Singapore and a number of countries in which their fighters have been brought here for training. And the countries in which we were, quote, hosting had varying levels of no democracy to little democracy. I think this one hits a little bit different. I think this
because of the financial benefit that the Trump family is getting.
Yeah.
What's the stated geopolitical strategic move here? Like outwardly, we're doing this because
the
U.S. benefits X, Y, Z.
Qatari government had purchased an order of F-15s. Or F-18s, I don't know, one of our jet batches, and the deal is, or what they're claiming is, well, we want to train them here at the best space, right? And to your point, Peter, I agree. Like, hold on. Like, let's look at who they are as people. Okay, if they want to buy our jets to a degree, who am I to stop our capitalistic endeavors?
I mean, I got lots of opinions on that, but
we're not going.
We are the world's gun runners, right?
Correct. Yeah. But to your point, like, here's the other thing. You know where the largest current Air Force base in the Middle East is?
I don't.
Qatar. So let's follow that logic, right? Okay, fine. They are helping broker this ceasefire. And again, as I said before we jumped on the mics here, I'm not calling it a peace deal until there's actual, like, a peace signed. They have an Air Force base. The base has been there since the mid-'90s. And, oh, by the way, we got rid of the other Air Force base in the region, Bagram, right, as we exited out of Afghanistan. So here's a nation that is a monarchy, operates under Sharia law, does not provide for any women's rights, extremely limited, on and on. There's a multitude of issues. But the thing that really gets in my fucking crawl with this one is we have the president's name, his institutions, his businesses operating in the region right now, 4 new deals.
Openly. Just openly.
Parallel.
Brazenly.
To these kind of deals.
And it's not just there. It's all over.
Right.
There was one caught on camera on a live mic yesterday, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. The Philippines.
Yeah, where the guy's sitting there talking about something where Trump's like, oh, yeah, you got to talk to my son about that. Like, let's connect you with the organization.
No, what it was is he actually asked, hey, can you get me a meeting with your sons?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so let's just...
In other words, can you show me how I'm supposed to give you things so that we get your good favor as a nation? But it's all of that, and it's tied to him just sort of buddying up with that culture around the world of bribery and personal corruption and gain being the way that you negotiate with other countries. And so that's why his best friends abroad seem to be the authoritarian dictators around, the ones who assassinate their political opponents, even if they're like a journalist or an American.
Those Swedes, bad. Qatari's good.
Yeah, but NATO we should just bail on because they're not doing enough.
I don't know.
And what he means by that is they're not doing enough for him.
Yeah, that's true too. Thoughts?
Yeah, he's fundamentally self-interested. I think all of his actions, like if you view it through that angle, seem pretty obvious. Most things he's doing. I mean, actually, later we can talk about some crypto stuff, but
yeah,
it's the same sort of deal making, whatever. But I guess I'm confused. Like, I understand the where the negatives come in. It's like, okay, he's just giving this country something for his own personal family's gain, a country that may or may not deserve any cooperation from us. But like nationally, they're saying like, look how good this deal we're making is, or like, here's what we're getting out of Qatar. I don't see like where the public positive is.
If you read MAGA social replies on this, it's this concept of stabilizing the region, and this is peace for, the region's been at war since 1948, and this is, he deserves the Nobel, and, these things help stabilize the region and create more partnerships and et cetera. And I think it's one of those things, okay? It's not can we, it's should we. Because if we do believe in the moral principles behind our Constitution, what our nation stands for, and what we're really good at, right? Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of action, capitalism, all these things that can be dissected in a multitude of different ways. But if the fundamental principle of what we stand behind is opportunity, pathway, and quote, freedom, why are we working with nations that their fundamental principles are literally the polar opposite?
Yeah, I mean, look, working with them is one thing. Like, we have to, right? We have to work with whoever's out there on whatever challenges need to be addressed. This is different than that. This is giving them access, giving them things in exchange, as you said, for money, like for individual profit.
And let's go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole here, right? You know, when we think about Sharia law and the effect that it has on nations, on states, on people, and then you start to look at the conflicts and what it has done as far as creating a jihadist movement of different levels at different times. To think that one of their pilots couldn't be radicalized. And oh, by the way, given an F-15, you know, if they're going to say, well, there's never going to be live munitions on these things. Well, it doesn't matter. Like that thing's a big bullet,
There
right?
weren't live munitions in 9/11.
Yeah, bingo, right? It's like why are we even opening the door to this? Because the optics are awful at a time where the number one thing that was the right's calling card in the 24 election was immigration. And we know fundamentally it was like this fear of people of color and immigrants and illegal immigrants and all these things. It's like it just runs counter to these arguments that they're making now. Just because, you know, if Trump does it, not bad.
Yeah, basically, if Trump does it, we must find a way to justify it and defend it because he is our great leader.
And I've done the research. And the last thing I want to say about this is our friend Hunter Biden and all of his corrupt activities and how he
Every accusation is an admission.
was going to topple the national security of the United States. You know how much money he made in that Burisma deal?
Oh, it was like a couple $100,000.
No,
or
it was
something.
a little more than that. 16 million tops.
Oh, okay. That's not nothing.
It's not nothing,
Yeah.
but it's
But-
not $5.5 billion.
And that's just one deal.
right, that we know of.
No, and we've talked about several others that were in the billions. The multi-billion-dollar investment in the financial firm that Kushner started,
That keeps growing. by
that
the way.
keeps growing. And that the crypto, the family crypto that they now get investments into, that's basically a way to just launder money to them that they want to have gifted.
Well, that's a perfect transition because our guest number 3 here today came in. You're a crypto techie guy. You like that, and you were going to lead in here with. Are we going to talk about AI? Or are we going to talk about crypto? What's lighting you up today, Will?
Yeah, let's do a little crypto. What I want to talk about is specifically crypto in relation to the Trump family because it's something that happened that was a big news story and it didn't go away, but no one seems to care about it anymore. It's on this same brand. It's like the public move is like, I don't know, sort of flattened. People don't care about it anymore. Okay, there's a reason he did it. It's not that clear. Was it good or bad? But then the back end is like the entire family is just raking in billions of dollars.
Yeah.
I don't know, the legality is unclear. So like, I never understood how they were able to push out multiple crypto-based projects. Not that that is bad, but to be the owners of these coins, like, and also control the regulation that is
that oversees crypto.
that oversees all of it.
You know, it used to be against federal law to like create alternate currencies. And here we have like a whole brand of them. And the president himself announcing it when he's inaugurated, like a competing currency to the US dollar. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in crypto for a while. You follow it. When you know, because the argument that a lot of individuals in the crypto world have, the Michael Saylors of the world, the Mark Cubans of the world, that you know that believe in the technology to a degree, to large degrees. Their response to what the Trump family has done with their tokens is that you delegitimize it all.
Yeah.
Right. We're making progress. There's technological advances to this or advantages. You know, then, you know, Bitcoin has that stable coin reality to it, given its, you know, limited issue. You know, just as a fan of crypto yourself, how do you feel about, you know, a Melania token?
Vanity cryptos. Isn't that what they call them?
Or meme coins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
right. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a safety net. If you're like, it's a meme, it's a joke, then that lets you sneak by some regulation. But I know, like, fundamentally, before there were a lot of regulation changes, the main component about can we use these in the US, is how decentralized they were. So like there was really only two that they checked off, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum, two big ones. The ownership is so spread out and democratized and seems to be like worldwide. You go, okay, this is not a security.
Right.
And so it doesn't need to be regulated by the SEC. But it was very clear anyone that was being spun off and basically sold as
a stock
securities, stocks,
Yeah.
it's definitely not allowed. I mean, we know like you can't just start a fake business and sell it as
A Ponzi
stock.
scheme, basically, too.
And so because this one is like a joke and for fun, it can sneak under the radar there. But the amount of money that was able to be collected, I think it was the fastest capital generating event in all history when he first launched Trump coin. I mean, it was in like a couple of hours, some insane amount of billions of dollars.
Yeah, it went up to like 14 billion.
And
That's
like
horrifying.
even the Trump coin, like that's one piece of it, but then these guys aren't that savvy in crypto. And
So let me I'm going to interrupt and I want to read
yeah.
something, because one of the things that continually is brought up by the wonks on the left, the Chuck Schumers of the world that are like, they know it's fundamentally wrong. They know it's breaking the law. Instead of going after it from a pure like dirty standpoint, they break out the legalese. Foreign emoluments clause, real simple. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, this provision bans any federal office holder from accepting, quote, any present emolument, office, title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state without the consent of Congress. The one thing about these crypto deals is, as much as it's, faceless, those wallets are trackable. They know where they are. They know who ultimately is accessing them.
I think that's only true for some of them, but I'm not sure of that.
No, because every single wallet, they're at the end of that rainbow, there is a cash transaction that occurs for it to enter into the real market, right? They know where it's coming from. They know the vast majority of the Trump token wallets were predominantly from the Middle East and North Korea, right? And to the point, like, this is kind of goes back to the whole Qatari issue that we were just talking about. Because of the way that he's operating, and he's by proxy through his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his own sons going over there and making these deals, and it's not a coincidence, Don Jr. is literally running a new crypto platform that is also a betting platform, almost like a Kalshi, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's the improprietary nature of these relationships is front and center. Like, we don't have to guess. We know. Because to your point, you're talking about the money that was generated and raised. They don't deny that they're making this money, right? The fees on these trades and that's coming from this unregulated source. Nobody said, no, we're not. It's all right there.
Any other president would have been impeached and prosecuted from any one of these things.
Clinton
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
got head
Yeah.
and was impeached. These guys are bringing in billions.
Open
billions.
corruption.
Yeah.
His
And
net
it's
worth,
just
I think,
like-
was reported to have gone from like a couple billion to like 16 billion just in the months since he was elected.
What's funny is some people listening that are like, well, Clinton lied to Congress. What did he lie about? Let me tell you.
And how many times did Trump lie today?
Yeah. I mean, and part of it's just so elementary. So like they don't know how to crypto can get complicated. They don't actually know how to build and create these things. And so they're just like hiring third parties, which these guys are like, you can make one of these coins at your desk living in South America, whatever. There's not a huge barrier to entry because for a meme coin, the tech is not complicated.
Yeah, they're not trying to advance the technology of speed of transactions.
All you have
or
to
anything
do is
like
basically make sure that it's trackable and people can buy and sell. There's no like further tech. But so on the Melania launch, this group that they used to push it out for them, it got sniped. The coin got sniped. Have you ever heard this term?
Yeah.
So these things happen so fast. And if you're really tech savvy and with a little insider knowledge, if you know they're going to push this out live at 8 p.m. and you got a fast computer and you're going to be the first millisecond to get on there, it'll launch at like $5, let's say. These guys that built it, they bought like
Oh, the same guys that built it.
the guys that built it. It's called sniping. Bought like $50 million right before the entire public was aware. Tweet goes out, entire public buys it. The instant the public buys it, like minutes later,
Yeah, they dump.
they're selling into the big hype launch. And
Right.
so,
Wow.
like, also the guys with insider knowledge who built the coin for the president cashed like $50 million on a trade because they have insider knowledge. I don't know. Should that be legal or not? Maybe, but it seems really nasty that the marketer is the president. Like it's just people don't know that that's going on.
Yeah,
It's a scam, just like Ponzi schemes that shouldn't be legal.
But it's the biggest
Preying on
marketing
people.
power in the world is Trump. If he says anything,
Yeah, well, and he's doing the same thing with regular stocks too. I mean, with every tariff announcement, you see the trades before and after, and you've got people that knew it was coming making a fortune off it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I
Because
mean-
I made a post about that the other day because last Friday there was another
Yeah.
China 150%. Well, I looked at the puts and the calls, right? There was a massive amount of short orders that went in
Right before the
end
announcement.
of day Thursday, early Friday, right before he announced, and they all bought back.
Of course.
It's all insider trading from the White House.
It's him being able to get millions and millions for his loyalists so that they stay more
Like,
loyal.
Hunter Biden, man. Hunter Biden.
Right.
Let's talk about
Every accusation is a confession.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to run into a few other topics. We're going to talk shutdown. We're going to talk Portland. And Will's got something else up his sleeve here. We're going to roll out Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. 4 Dead in Ohio. See you on the flip side.
What's this one?
Coming back in, a little more Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Just kind of in that kind of mood today. We all know this one, right? Teach your children well.
Yeah. I didn't know the intro, but I know it now.
Classic. Kind of goes in line with what we were talking about earlier with all those young Republicans texting. Can you imagine like their plantation parents reading their kids' tweets? Do you think they like, attaboy?
Some of them. I mean, honestly, they're so down this rabbit hole of like being excited about aggressively embracing politically incorrect language that, I think that some of them are using it at home too.
Oh, it's inevitable.
That was the thing that I think maybe shocked me most about Trump,
Well,
being able to be as successful as he was. Like, policies aside, all the things aside, it is shocking to me how many people in this country who talk about family values and all these things were like, let's elect an open bully. Like a guy that just like literally makes mean nicknames for everybody he doesn't like. And
well, I mean,
that was never acceptable.
This is a
in
whole.
politics.
That is a whole separate 7-hour long podcast episode because I think what it represented. And I'm going to go back to 2016. It wasn't a politician.
Yeah.
And in a time in which everybody was like, "Oh fuck," we can't not another Clinton, right?
Yeah.
That was the mindset.
Yeah, except what's weird is they went with a different household name instead of the 20 other people that were running for office.
Yeah, there's something about
It's
reality.
not like he was the only one running for office that wasn't a Clinton or a Bush,
No, I know. Look, I mean, the history books are going to do well to represent what went down. In the meantime, we're going to jump into the next category.
Do you think the reason humor seems to supersede like respect and morality and language is because all of the knowledge people are getting right now is coming from comedians?
That's another 7-hour episode. Whenever it's funny you say that because last night on one of my fat man walks around the soccer fields, I was literally thinking about news sources, right? And you have this technological debate that's in Congress and between the big tech regarding Section 230, as to whether or not tech companies should be beholden to liable
for what's posted on their platforms.
And I think it really is simple as this. If you polled Americans and said, where do you get your news? Right? And you literally just
Facebook first,
where
probably.
are you getting
Twitter.
informed? Where do you do your research? What do you consider news? if 75, 80, 85% of our nation says social media, well, then it's news.
Well, and even you just said, where do you fact check? Well, they Google it. So they're using a different platform.
Same thing. Yeah, Google is 230 exempt as well, right? Yeah, all crazy. I want to talk about the shutdown.
Even though Google also has an algorithm that determines what the most, likely result is. And if the most likely result is something that is misinformation or hate speech or insightful, they have no liability for the fact that their algorithm didn't mind. And it is an interesting question.
Yeah.
We had a long conversation about this a couple of episodes ago, but
Well, my position is because of their integration into kids' lives, specifically through Snap, through Insta and other platforms, I think just for the sake of protecting children, that there needs to be additional safety nets starting at the top so that that learned behavior is translated down.
Yeah. Wasn't there news on Insta this week?
Yeah,
They're really having a PG-13 version for teens or something.
Yeah, no, they're rolling in a new content for minors. Will be capped at PG-13 levels.
That's interesting.
Yes.
We had when I was my last couple of years in office, there was a bill that was being presented several times by some Republicans that I don't normally, get along great with, and they were about liability for internet service providers and others for pornography when kids see it. And I found it to be a really interesting conversation where I think they thought I was going to be just opposed to the bill because I don't want censorship or whatever. And what kept occurring to me is, I don't necessarily like the way your bill's doing it. I don't think it's targeting it the right way, but the question should be asked, when we were kids, like if you wanted to get porn, you had to show an ID to buy it or have a friend that had it and shared it with you or something. There was, at least for commercial enterprises, a barrier there. And people are like, well, privacy, you should be able to do this privately. Well, you couldn't then. You had to walk into a place, you had to show an ID in order to get it. And so the idea that you would have to be ID'd online to view those same things is really consistent historically, even if it's so inconsistent with our experience of the internet, that I thought it was a fair question to at least be asking. And I don't totally know how to solve that problem, but I also don't want my kids accidentally stumbling on, abuse cartoon porn or something like that when my 6-year-old happens to be online. Or whatever.
Yeah,
there's some dangerous stuff out there, and it's way more dangerous stuff than what was in that corner store, No,
I'm with you. Let's talk about the shutdown. That's a slippery slope.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about it, huh?
No, well, it's just like...
It's not one of our topics.
It infuriates me because it's like I feel like common sense is just it's not only fleeting, it might be dead.
Especially with topics like that.
Because it's like, why,
it gets so...
Why are we debating this? Like, here's the deal. All kids have devices.
Right.
So let's do something.
I think the debate is legitimately what is the something is a fair debate, but that doesn't seem to be how the conversation plays out. It instead ends up just being like free speech, privacy, or... our kids are being taken advantage of, and you feel like it's an argument between a nanny state and freedom, but it's really the world is somewhere in between that.
All right, shutdown. Here's what's going on. Another real clear polling summary, which for any of you that are wondering, everybody's like, "Oh, polls are fake." Well, yeah. But probably to a degree, but Real Clear basically takes all of those fake polls and aggregates. So let's just say...
So it's an aggregation of fakeness?
Yes.
Cool.
And there's a lot of polling going on right now in regards to the shutdown. There's two things going on. There's a debate as to who's to blame, and there's the technical reality of the vote in the Senate, and then there's the practical reality of the why. And then there's polling as far as who the people that are being polled, who they blame. Numbers don't lie. 40.9% believe that it's the Democrats, the majority, the other, where are we, 58 plus Republicans. So I just wanted to start there, like getting out of the weeds of the procedural reality of what's going on and the continuing, the CR, the continuing resolution, and the clean bill and all this other bullshit. At the end of the day, the Democrats have drawn a line in the sand. The argument is simple. If we pass this and we get to the drop dead date, you have no plan in place to protect the health care under the ACA and the subsidies stemming not only from COVID years, but other aspects of healthcare funding, which would put 22 million Americans at risk of seeing at least a 2-time up to a 4-time increase, 2x to 4x increase in their monthly premium. So from 400 to 800 to 800 or 400 to 1600, and then compound that for families up. The numbers are just staggering. The numbers are, we already have the vast majority of, quote, middle-class America and lower-middle-class America that cannot pay bills, that are overextended.
Because, of course, it's not just healthcare going up.
Correct.
Housing costs with mortgage rates and rent.
So here's why I wanted to toss this out to you guys. I just wanted to get your take because just from a strategic standpoint, let's start with the Democratic side first. And maybe, Will, I'm going to ask you.
Because I yelled at you last time you asked me about this?
No. Oh. I enjoy the argument there, man. The Democrats, ever since the election, have been told that this was a mandate, that this is a wave. This is vindication for all of MAGA policies, and that you have no power, you have no say, yet here we are in a government shutdown that's basically being practically affected by the Democrats by not passing the continuing resolution in the Senate. That being said, Republicans justifiably are saying, well, this is on the Democrats as far as not being open, which is true. You just take the votes simplistically. Let's not get into the weeds of negotiating. The votes are what has shut it down.
Not being open.
Correct.
To doing exactly what you said with no concession.
Again, for a party that was told you don't have a say, you don't have any power, here we are in a shutdown, and polling is saying this is the Republicans' fault. As somebody, that maybe is cursory doom scrolling and seeing it every now and then, what's your take on the shutdown? Who do you blame?
And give me a little more breakdown here. So fundamentally what's happening is there's a big bill trying to get passed, and the main thing that the Democrats don't want to see is massive increases in premiums for Americans in their health care, and they're saying if this is in there, we won't pass this.
Yeah, if you guys come back to the table and agree to extend these subsidies, extend these credits so that these 22 million insured individuals will not see a 2x, 3x, 4x increase on their premium, if you can make that right, well, then we'll continue the government funding bills and keep moving down this path towards your big, beautiful bill activation.
That seems reasonable to me. I mean, I hate healthcare and insurance prices. Like, it's insane, even for someone who's doing all right. You have a kid, and
oh my God, yeah.
I feel like even with my premiums, when I go to the doctor for something that actually is going wrong, I still pay out of pocket some insane amount that I was not prepared for, and end up getting on a plan to pay it off. I never can just I have that cash on me, basically. And so I don't know anything. But what I don't know is what they're trying to remove and the reasons for it. And sometimes the increases are overstated, but how could that even be possible? This gets passed and I'm going 400 to 1600. What's getting removed that would cause an increase of that?
Well, I think the Republicans are just in kind of political denial just for the sake of the optics and the messaging, because they're claiming that, well, what we're really saying is we don't want illegal immigrants on these plans.
They're just lying.
Which is just a bold-faced lie. That's just not the case. There's plenty of districts. And the irony is, of the individuals, of the 22 million, there's been multiple reports from both sides of the aisle stating that on average, 70% of these individuals live within Republican districts. So there's a little bit of playing chicken with yourself. Because if they hold on,
Well, and these subsidies literally have nothing to do with legal residency or legal
Correct.
citizenship.
So
Literally
who's
zero. They
who's
only
the
apply
real
to citizens.
beneficiary then? Like the stated reason is immigrants on healthcare that aren't citizens.
That's a lie.
But who's the real beneficiary if this goes through then?
Which, if they
it's not
don't make a change,
If they were to push this through, if they're not really doing it to get immigrants off of these plans or whatever it is, or not,
it's Trump's the number one thing that he has wanted since day one from being president is to destroy President Obama's Obamacare.
okay.
That's what he wants. If he could get that tomorrow,
and this basically does that because it makes
honestly,
all of the options.
if
too
he
expensive.
could kill Obamacare tomorrow, he would probably tell the doctors that are keeping him alive, "You can stop now." Like, I think that's how much.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, maybe he wants to golf in Qatar one day. Anyway, that's really what it comes down
Is
to.
this there's a big company in St. Louis that deals in like Medicare plans?
Bingo.
This
Yeah.
is why their stock dropped like
Express
a rock?
Scripts.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the bigger equation there. And I want to go back to the
Wait,
poll.
I'm not familiar with what happened. Express Scripts, because that's the pharmacy side.
Express Scripts is one of the
PBMs.
major beneficiary of basically Medicaid, Medicare plans. Like they do the back end, the insurance, and so
Not Centene? Do you mean?
Centene is who I was thinking.
Yeah, Centene. Express Scripts is the they're the PBM. So some of the pharmacy conversations with
same.
the pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
that's an attack on,
Well, they
on
both get
companies.
screwed.
Yeah, but through different things.
I want to point out one other poll along the lines, and this is a parallel poll, which I think this is one that I really like. You know, all the really nuanced ones can get really nerdy. This one's really simple. Is the direction of our country heading in the right direction? Right? That the direction of country is the name of the poll. You want to take a guess? What percentage says we are heading in the right direction?
30.
Got a guess, Will?
42.
You're closer, 39.1.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that jumps out to me about that number, that is not a mandate. That is not a mandate.
Well, neither were the election results.
That's not like that's a plurality would be maybe in that world. And here's the irony: it's bumped up just a little bit on the coattails of Israel.
That makes sense.
Gaza. So once that gets cloudy again, I think you see these numbers really start to move down. Anyway,
But to your initial question,
What's the
here.
historical answers on that? If we ever get above 50%
Oh, yeah.
on that poll, we
Oh,
get
yeah.
like 60, 70 on that type of
been a
question.
while.
Clinton was in there quite
Oh,
a
yeah.
bit. You know, Clinton.
I think Obama was too early on.
Yeah. Well, coming out of 08,
Yeah.
it was really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically though, I mean, look, everybody always wants change. Nobody likes politicians. But if you're a politician that's trending in the 47 to 49 approval rating, that's pretty good, right? Because
Depends where you're on your term.
you're always gonna have haters. Anyway, next, go ahead.
But back to your initial question was like, who's to blame here?
Both.
Well, Democrats are at least like offering a thing. They're saying if you do this, we'll actually go forward with your plan to fund government. But they were supposed to have an actual budget in place by the end of last month.
Yep.
They didn't even try to pass a real budget. So
Well-
they're just doing these continuing resolutions to
Well,
like,
here's
keep the budget going.
Here's the other number that jumped out yesterday that I was like, holy shit, is that real? And I looked it up, and it is. Of the last 70, well, including today, of the last 80 days that Congress could have been in session
They've been
working,
how many?
12.
Yeah. Well, and they're literally not there negotiating because Trump has told them you're not allowed to negotiate.
Well,
with
here's the
Democrats.
thing, and my conspiracy friend across the table here, you know what they can't vote on as long as they're not in session?
Epstein.
There you go.
Because they have to. But
What's
they also
really
have
driving
to.
all
They
this?
have to admit a new congressional member,
Correct.
right? And so they're saying, no, we're not going to negotiate. We like the shutdown.
Yeah.
We don't want government to keep going. We're going to keep pretending that it's Democrats' fault while we don't even call you out here to talk about it. And by the way, while the shutdown's happening, we can keep cutting programs illegally that we don't like because we think that they help Democrats. I mean, they just gutted the Department of Education and the part that oversees special ed.
Yeah.
Right? You know why that exists? The Department of Education was largely created for this purpose because of states not providing special education. They're gutting that program. They're firing those people right now.
Yes.
And they're using the shutdown to justify it so that they can blame Democrats because of illegal immigration, which, again, is just a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a good test here, I guess. The issues in this bill, are they ones that ever in history the Democratic Party would go ahead and sign off on? Or is it very clear, like, this will never get passed by the Democratic Party?
So it's a continuing resolution. It just says that the budget continues. And last time it was up for extending the budget,
March.
there were like, 4 or 5 Democratic senators that decided we don't think a shutdown is worth it. So even though we don't support what's in this bill, we're going to vote for it because it's better than shutting down.
Yeah, if you followed the timeline, basically, the Republicans are like, we've signed 15 of these in a row, blah, 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 blah. Well, the argument is now as to why they did it. Number one is the health care.
You voted last time.
Yeah, this is what you've always done. Well, you guys did not operate in good faith via the big, beautiful bill negotiations because of the 280-something bills or amendments that were brought to the table by Democrats during that process. You know how many were actually debated? 0. So the Democrats are like, well, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna negotiate in good faith,
Not only not negotiating in good faith, if they even say, okay, fine, we'll give this to you, they will literally come back a week later and say, now we're going to pass a bill where we don't need 60 votes and just undo the agreement we just made. Because they've already proven they'll do that over and over again. And they'll celebrate it because look at how they just trolled the left. So how do you negotiate with that?
Let's talk about keeping it weird up in Portland. You last week you were pretty worked up over the Black Hawk helicopters flying into Chicago South Side, which appears to be one of the nicer things they've done so far. Portland, the grand total of 27 protesters a day. Now, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I think Portland's an interesting contrast in their, especially in the protesters' approach to this. Chicago, I think the administration is getting some of the video that they're trying to produce of their demonstration of power. And don't get me wrong, it is nasty what's happening there. The treatment of people who've done literally nothing wrong, committed no crimes, and are peacefully protesting, or just people that are walking by on their way out of work has been absolutely brutal. But one thing it's not is exactly the occupation they want us to think it is. And that's something that's hard for me because when I see it happening to a few hundred people even, that to me is so deeply offensive.
Well, let me point out something real quick, and I bet you don't know this, but I read a nerdy article about Chicago in particular. State's Attorney's Office up there in Chicago, they've been tracking it because a lot of these detainees in these filings, they still have to go through a system, and they took the first 1,000 individuals that they detained. You know how many had a criminal background?
It's like 20%.
10 people.
Oh, 10 people?
10 people.
So they literally had no criminal backgrounds at all, and they're the people getting swept up by this.
Yes.
And they're not just getting swept up, they're getting assaulted by ICE. They're getting thrown in cars. Their lives are getting disrupted. They're getting kidnapped, essentially. They're getting thrown into a system for having done nothing wrong at all.
And they're shooting dogs.
Oh my God!
He sends his post yesterday. Go ahead, tell the story.
The dog that was shot, and this wasn't even they were going into a home thinking that they were going after an illegal immigrant. These people were actually citizens, and they shot their dog. And there's zero accountability for this. There's no mechanism for accountability at all for any of this, and it's just one thing after another. But backing up a step from this, there is also a reality that as ugly and awful and as much of an attack on civil rights as it is, they're going to war in Chicago, and they're doing it by sending in 400 National Guard troops.
Yeah, there's how many 10,000 cops in
Chicago? Yeah, and how many people? You're not putting in a police state with 400 people. What they're doing is putting on a show by really making it difficult for some people, and videoing that and broadcasting it and doing a show of force, like you said, taking tanks down Michigan.
Yeah, they were going to Harry Carey's.
Right. Like they're making a show of it to look strong, but the reality is they can't do quite what they're saying they want to do and what we're afraid of, which is a true attack on a city like Chicago. And I think Portland's response kind of illustrates another way to handle that, which has been mockery.
Yeah.
which has been we're gonna show up in costumes that make it so you don't get the footage you want. When you're assaulting one of us, you don't look like you're dealing with rioters.
It's like all anime.
You literally just shot a tear gas canister inside an inflatable frog costume. Like, no, you're the assailant. There's no doubt about it. And they're mocking them openly. And I think there's something really effective about that response too. Maybe more effective in the long run, because that show of force, that show of power is a big part of how they actually get to that power someday.
Well,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm gonna have to cue in my dad's take on how we should implement gun control in the country, which is all guns have to be bright pink, Hello Kitty all over them, and whatever. So if you are gonna buy a gun for the reasons you want, it's not gonna look cool.
It's going to look like a sparkle duster.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I like it, Dad. That's clever.
I want to get your take though, Will, because again, I know you well enough to know, the things that you get into. You like the kind of crazy cerebral, a little crypto, a little bit of everything. Obviously, you're a soccer guy, right? How do you view what you're seeing, from the cheap seats? What's going on in Portland, what's going on in Chicago? Because a lot of people that we both know, friends, teammates, etc. They're pretty into it. I'm seeing their posts as well, so I'm sure you're seeing it. How are you personally reacting to these cell phone videos of the west side of Chicago and what they're doing in these neighborhoods? Because the neighborhoods they're in, those are not war zones. Berwyn, Bridgeview, that's not where crime is.
Yeah, and there was sort of two paths going here. I just want to clarify. Is this like primarily an ICE objective, or more so the let's get crime down in the
what would be great is if there was an actual stated strategy that defined that.
It's unclear.
It depends on the day.
Like most of
which
these
message is
videos
more convenient.
are these ICE
Yeah.
A lot of them are ICE. But then whenever they fuck up and they're like, oh, well, and they find out, oh, that's an American citizen, well, then it becomes a crime
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
Even though that American citizen didn't even commit a crime.
You're right.
Their reason for being in Chicago and Portland specifically is some kind of claim. I mean, for Trump, it's literally that he saw videos from a protest 4 years ago in Portland and thought Portland's on fire. And now we're going to make that the enemy. With Chicago, it was, well, everybody knows Chicago's got all these murders. Well, let's ignore the fact that their violent crime rate is actually lower than a lot of other cities that they're not addressing. They're using that as their justification for targeting it. But what they're actually doing is harassing people that look like immigrants or sound like immigrants.
Yeah,
That's the primary.
There's one I saw where they pulled over two 15-year-old kids who were riding
I saw
a bike
that.
home from, again, in Berwyn.
Demanding to see identification.
They're 15. They're riding the bikes home from school.
I saw one with a little girl with a backpack walking down the street and another woman going that doesn't know her saying, wait, what's your name? Can I contact your mom? You can't take her. You can't take her. She doesn't want to go. And they throw her into an unmarked van. Can you imagine walking down the street in your neighborhood, seeing a little girl walking down the street with a backpack coming home from school, and two guys not wearing uniforms in an unmarked van declaring that they have the right to abduct her and throw her in a van, and you have no way of knowing even who they are, and they're not saying why, they're not providing identification, they're just threatening the woman who's videoing it.
Yeah, it sounds bad. I mean, the one part
Sounds bad.
that's easier for me to speak on is focused on the ICE stuff, because like all of the people I hang out with in the pro soccer scene, I mean, it's probably 95% immigrants or 98. I'm typically the only white American on the teams I'm on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Most of the time. I mean, the Trump organization was masterful in marketing in a lot of ways. I thought, how do you have such non-ideas and just market things to get people excited about it? I don't know, but
Like they're eating your pets?
Yeah, whatever. But so in this particular case, like once anything got past the border from anyone I've talked to, the ICE stuff just seems despicable. I mean, it's just horrible. And that's not what anyone wanted or cared about.
Right.
Even if what they were hearing about the border was not accurate or whatever, it seemed like an issue. And once that's getting sorted, or whether it is or isn't, the perception that is being sorted, people don't care anymore. Like, people don't want their friends that weren't born here to get captured.
Or let me,
horrible.
or
They don't want
the
roofing companies to be unable to do their job.
well,
or
that's where I was
landscaping
going with this.
companies.
There's a first world problem reality that is starting to spiral from
Yeah.
what is going on, where you have individuals that their cleaning crew didn't show up. Oh, the roof bid you just had. Well, forget that. That addition, prices just went up. Like all these things. Look, and then we're seeing the practical effects, the real effects in the grocery store. Because the immigrant labor that would work at these, super farms to get us our produce, to get us our, our proteins, those prices are going up. This is not, there's cause and effect across the board. But I think for me, it's crossed a line. Like, I do not condone, I do not support President Biden, how he handled and didn't handle the border. Like,
How?
it didn't do anything.
I mean, he had the bipartisan bill that would have been the biggest reform for immigration in
again,
modern history, and the only reason it didn't get passed after Republicans supported it was because Trump demanded they take back their
That
support.
procedural argument is no different than how the Republicans are saying, well, this shutdown is the Democrats' fault.
Well, but except Democrats didn't break all norms with their power. They didn't have the House and Senate, first of all. So he couldn't pass that without a House and Senate because he respected that the three branches exist. What we've seen with the Republicans right now is that they've gotten rid of the 60 vote need for just about everything else that they've passed, including all of the appointments.
Still does not
judges,
justify the bell curve explosion of border crossings that occurred under.
But he also had an explosion of deportations. He deported more people than Trump did in his administration.
Well, but the ratio wasn't nearly high enough to offset the number of people that were coming into the country. The optics were real. The numbers were real. And look, the Democrats have to own that. Now we need to move forward because the reality is you can look at the crossings now. It's a fraction of what it was. What the response to it, way too far. There could have been so many other solutions, other ways. But the thing is, this administration knows how to fucking throw a Hollywood party to fire up its base and make everybody afraid. And, because I read the comments on some of these videos and posts, and it's 50-50. Normal people saying, that's too far. Quit grabbing kids, and the rest are like, well, they shouldn't have broke the law. They shouldn't be here illegally, or their parents shouldn't be here illegally. Like, that's the beauty, in a sick way, of what the Republican Party has been able to do. It's been able to change the mindset of accepting morally corrupt solutions to what are issues that need to be dealt with, but there are human ways to do it, and they're not doing it.
Yeah, I think 90% of my interactions with real people are like, we want hardworking, productive immigrants in the country. And this is pretty fucked up. Yeah. Like, when I talk to people, it's pretty level. Actually, probably 100% of the people I've brought it up to about,
Yeah.
I'm not scanning social media comments on it. But so, like...
No, I don't know how much of that is bad.
I would say generally the whole country is pretty... The majority is pretty straightforward on that.
Well, I mean, again, going back to the polling is kind of indicating, because there's noise in the numbers, right? I don't care what the subject matter is. There's always going to be a percentage of people, especially in an economy that we have right now, when you see your 401k going up 1%, 1.5%, every other day, you're making real money on paper. So there's a placebo effect that's occurring with a lot of people in middle America and above that are, shit, this is working for me.
Yeah, well, I'll also say for those people, I had a conversation with some of my friends about this week, even. Like, if we weren't reading the news, if we weren't looking around at what is happening elsewhere, as of right now, I'm not sure I would have noticed a direct impact on my life at all.
If a tree falls in the forest...
It is very easy to just live your life if you are especially white, middle class, or upper middle class,
soccer coach,
soccer dad, or any of it, right? Like, it is easy to ignore. And you might occasionally hear about a person who a family member of somebody that works for your roofer. You hear about that, and you're like, oh man, that's really bad. And then you move back onto your life like nothing's wrong. And so, even as fairly atrocious things are happening, it's really easy to ignore them and just live your life, because the impact on everyday people isn't necessarily being felt as tangibly. And it's easy, the things that are happening, it's easy to say, well, they've always been, like, if all of a sudden you're having a 2-hour conversation trying to get hold of someone on Medicaid in order to make sure that your benefits are renewed.
Yeah,
Well, that's not a new problem.
Yeah, this is a classic economic, example where you have, leading up to the election, you had this leading indicator that was stimulating. The leading indicator was the narrative, like, these people are taking your job, taking your insurance, right? And that created this fear, created this buy, right? Just like a stock, right? The leading indicator is, you buy on the news, sell on the sales, right? And now we're approaching this lagging indicator reality that is like, oh shit, that's what that looks like. Oh shit, this shit's more expensive. Oh fuck, I don't have labor anymore. Oh, I can't get this done. I can't get that done.
But when people do start feeling that, what are they going to blame also? Because if you've been feeling it a little bit all along, well, you're not necessarily going to say, well, it's the policies of the current administration that I'm blaming for this. You're going to say it's all these other things, especially when that administration has a propaganda machine that's telling you to blame X, Y, and Z then.
Well, I think that's the resilience, and we can start to wrap this up, because you said at the very beginning when you walked in here, you were talking about an individual that kind of, said, hey, you know what, this stuff isn't that bad, right? If it's scary, and there are certain things that are bad, but there are a lot of safety nets in place still, right? And I'm paraphrasing our conversation.
And there's a lot of incompetence and lack of power in those places that.
And in regards to what you were just describing, and their PR media machine, at the end of the day, these families that are going to be going to the polls in the midterms and beyond, they're not going to be going to their Facebook page to review their vote. They are simply going to be looking at their bank account. They're going to be looking in their kids' faces. They're going to be thinking about college tuition. They're going to be thinking about just those real things that are occurring within the box that they live in. And if we continue to go down this path that we're on, I don't give a fuck what 401ks look like. You're going to have decreasing wage purchasing power. You're going to have increasing expenses with your insurance and your tuition and everything else. And people are going to be like, I want change. All the other stuff is going to fire them up.
They have to see a narrative they believe in. One side or the other is more likely to create that change, or they don't bother voting at all. And I think that's what we saw last cycle, where actually a large number of the people that voted were the ones who were caught up in a media narrative bubble from social media about things that weren't actually affecting their daily life, like immigration. They may not have actually had any experience with a negative problem from immigration, and yet they were convinced that immigration was causing all of the problems in the world. And so they went out and voted based on that. And all the people who were focused just on their wallets and things like that, they just stayed home because they were like, I'm not too happy with anything happening, and I don't think either of these people can fix it.
Do you ever do polls with the Soccer Dad Pod? You push out polls of your own?
We asked one time, do you like us? And it didn't come back very well.
Oh, no.
This sparked one for me. I never have felt any personal life change from any administration ever, other than social. I've never noticed anything in my own life.
Yeah, I think
I'm curious how many other people feel like that.
Well,
I think there aren't small things going on.
I think most people feel that way, even if it's not the case.
And then I sometimes skip the polls. I'm waiting for someone that I view as a role model to go out there.
Graham Plattner. I love that guy. Have you been following him? Up in Maine?
I don't think so.
Oh, dude, he's a sweet spot.
I'll check him out. We talked about him at some point.
Oyster farmer.
Oh, yeah.
Ex-vet.
Yeah.
He's got like a James Earl Jones voice. The dude is a rock star. And
I think the only thing I'd say is be careful waiting for
a role model.
Because the reality is character assassination is really easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all human.
Mm-hmm.
And so just about anybody that gets up there, I think it's really easy to paint them as a trash person. And whether it's true or not, to be honest.
Yeah, and to your point, Soccer Dad Pod, we get trashed.
You guys get trashed, man.
Yeah, every now and then.
I'd argue Biden was a pretty good dude.
Primaries that I go, if that guy gets up there, that's an easy one for me.
But how might you have felt after they spent 6 months of a full campaign cycle in a general election as the main candidate being targeted by the other side's narratives?
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
We're out of here. Tell Me You're Joking. Mondays Suck, recorded on a Wednesday, released maybe this afternoon, no later than Thursday. Check it out. It'll still be relevant. Peter, Will, thank you for your time, boys.
Thank you.
Always fun.
All right, we're out of here.
See ya.